This video is dedicated to all of the lonely people out there who don't have a Quarantine Bae. You don't need them because I'm going to be bringing you the sexiest, steamiest books that is guaranteed to spice up your quarantine life. Hey guys, I'm Cameron and welcome back to my channel where we sip tea and also spill the tea as I talk about some of my favorite reads. As you saw in the introduction, this video is going to be talking about some of my sexiest books that I have read that is guaranteed to give you a bit of extra flavor in your quarantine time. So without further ado, let's get into this video. The first book on this list is called In Flight by S.C. Stevens. This book is like 50 Shades of Grey except the 2.0 version. It is better in everything. It has a better couple, better chemistry, better writing, and it has a freaking sexier leading male. So this book follows our girl named Bianca. She is a flight attendant for first class, and while she's working, she meets James Cavendish, who is a billionaire hotel owner. As soon as Bianca sees this man, she just loses her composure, which is crazy because throughout the story, Bianca is somebody who knows how to keep her cool and she knows how to react in different situations. But as soon as she sees James Cavendish, all that cool goes up in the air. After that first encounter, she thinks that she's never going to see him again. But little does she know, later that night, she ends up seeing him at a bar. And that's where, after getting a bit tipsy, she gets some liquid courage to go up and sing S&M by Rihanna at the karaoke bar. And let me tell you, for our BDSM dominant alpha male that is James Cavendish, he just can't help but find this S&M singing flight attendant to be one of the most sensual girls that he has ever met. So after watching her sing, they end up talking and flirting and things unfold from there. Let me tell you, James Cavendish is one of the most addictive male characters that I have ever read. He just has everything. He's so charismatic, charming, and funny, and overall a really great guy. After reading that, I couldn't get enough of James Cavendish. I had to keep on reading each book in the series just so that I can read even more about him. Now, one of my favorite things about this series is that our author, S.C. Stevens, she doesn't just focus on the relationship between our two leading characters. She also spends a lot of time focusing on the secondary characters as well, which I think is really refreshing because usually in these types of erotica and steamy books, most of the time the writer spends the entire book focusing on the couple and building up the relationship between them. And now, while that is an important thing and the writer does spend a great amount of time talking about our two main characters, Bianca and James Cavendish, she also unusually goes out of her way to introduce the side characters as well. And the side characters that she does introduce, they're really funny and they are what truly adds an even more addictive quality to these books because I adored listening to the other characters talk and interact with our leading characters, which is really surprising for me because I'm usually somebody who, when I read these eroticas and these steamy books, these smutty books, I want to spend all of my time watching the build-up and the relationship between the two characters, between the couple. But S.C. Stevens just writes the secondary characters so well, and she creates such charming and three-dimensional people that I can't get enough of reading all of the characters that are within this series. And I also adore Bianca. I love how she's not your typical submissive female character. Because whenever we read BDSM stories, most of the time the submissive is very quiet and shy and to herself, but Bianca is none of these things. While she is submissive in the sheets, she is a feisty female in the streets. I just really liked Bianca, and most of all, the relationship between Bianca and James is something that is so intense. It's so sweet and sexy that it creates such a great book overall. Now let's talk about the part that y'all are interested in, the sex scenes. Let's just say this writer is not just great about writing awesome characters. She's talented in writing awesome sexy scenes as well. So if you want a book that delivers it all, that has the steam, it has the sass, it has the charming secondary characters and the great couple, then read this book and keep on reading the series, because each book just keeps on getting better and smuttier and sexier as it goes along. The second book in this list is Bad Things by none other than S.C. Stevens. She is a writing goddess. She knows how to write great characters and she knows how to write great books. So after reading the In Flight series, I had to read her next series called Bad Things, which actually has a couple that we see within the In Flight series. Now, these books can be read as standalone series. You don't have to read the In Flight series to know what's going on in the Bad Things series and vice versa, but I will recommend that you read both of these series because they are so great, so phenomenal, and super, super sexy. Now, this book follows a girl named Donica who has a thing for the bad guys. Don't we all? But she has had her fill of dating bad guys and she's done with it. She has decided to stop dating all these guys who are not good for her and to try to focus on herself and to focus on her career as she works as the live-in nanny for her best friend and role model. Things change whenever she meets Tristan, who is brought to the house and is going to be staying there as a temporary guest as he tries to get things figured out for his living situation. As soon as Donica meets Tristan, she knows that he is not a good guy. They both quickly meet and they decide that they should just be friends. Every day they spend more and more time together since they are both living under the same roof. And let me just say, the friendship that is built between them is something that's so sweet. They are two people who just get along so well, and something that's just so much fun to read because they just really are so compatible with each other, and every time they're together they just have such cute and funny and witty dialogue that they share with each other. So this book is definitely one where the author builds up the relationship between the two characters as they try to just stay friends, but obviously they both like each other and the passion is there and the sparks just comes off the page as they intensify in their relationship. Now let me just tell you, this author does such a great job making these steamy scenes between each other, and oh my gosh guys, it's so sexy. The scenes that she writes, you know, as they're friends, they start accidentally touching, getting too close to each other, being very flirty until their friendship slowly dissolves and they become so much more than friends. So compared to the In Flight series, this book was even sexier, it was even smuttier, and what I liked about it is that it was darker, because Donica and Tristan, they are just so intense in their relationship. They're a very all or nothing type of people, and their relationship that's built in this book, they just have such a whirlwind romance. So if you are looking for a book that will definitely keep you up at night, that will give you flutters, not just in your stomach, if you know what I mean, then check this book out. So the third book in this list is Thoughtless by this book is about a girl named Kira as she moves across the country with her boyfriend Denny because he got a new job opportunity. Now it's here that they end up rooming with Denny's old best friend, whose name is Kellen Kyle. And it's very early on that Denny ends up having to go out of the country for his job. And it's during this time that Kira and Kellen end up having a forbidden romance. Now, this book definitely packs the steam because Kellen and Kira know that obviously they cannot be together, but it's just so addictive to watch as they try to deny the feelings that they have for each other and the chemistry that they share, because they are both trying to do right by Denny. Now, what I love about this book is that Kira is such a flawed character. There are times when I absolutely cannot stand her, and there are just times when she just annoys me so much, but the reason why I love that about Kira is because she's just so human. And most of the time whenever we read any type of book in general, the writer tries to make our main characters perfect. But what I love about this series is that Kira is so completely human, and there are times when I cannot stand her, but I also understand that, you know, we all have traits that are not the best, and while there are some things that I just absolutely hate about her, there are also so many redeeming qualities that I love about her as well, because she is a character who is so annoying. She makes choices on a whim and she doesn't think before she acts, but she's also so passionate and so kind. I just love Kira as our leading character. And guys, don't even get me started about Kellen. He's just the whole package. He is definitely one of my favorite book boyfriends. First of all, Kellen is romantic. Kellen is a rock star. Who doesn't find a man with a guitar and a sexy voice hot? Out of all the books on my list, this book is one of the most emotional whirlwinds ever. There were times when this book made me burst out in laughter, and then there was other times when the book made me burst out in absolute tears. There were other times when I was so angry at the choices that the main characters make, because they do not make smart decisions. They are just so well written and so completely human that I loved and hated these characters. So yes, this book is so sexy, it's smutty, it's twisted, and it's just such a roller coaster of emotions. If you read this book, you won't have to read anything else, because this book brings the steam. So the next book on my list is Rules of Attraction by Simone Elkels, or Elkeles. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name wrong. If I completely butchered it, I'm sorry. But this book is actually part of a 3-book trilogy which follows 3 different brothers as they struggle with the ties that they have to a gang, and they go about their life and meet 3 different women that completely change their lives as they know it. Now, you can read these 3 books together, or you can read them as a standalone. Out of all 3 of the books, I totally recommend Rules of Attraction, which is the 2nd book in the series. Now, this follows our 2 main characters, Kira and Carlos. So Carlos is in a gang. He has so much more ambition to move up in the gang and to become a leader in the future. Now, this all changes when he ends up getting set up by somebody in the gang. He ends up getting taken in by a college professor who helps him from having to go to prison. Now, it's here where he has to live in the college professor's house, and he meets his daughter. And as soon as they meet each other, they do not like one another, don't get along. Carlos thinks that Kira is super shy and she's just an overall good girl, and Kira thinks that Carlos is egotistical and is going on nothing but a bad path. She does not want anything to do with him, and he doesn't want anything to do with her either. But slowly they end up forming a friendship, and then they slowly go from enemies to, you guessed it, lovers. Now, this is a YA book, and you may be thinking, how can this be steamy if this is YA? But let me tell you, whenever I was reading this, I went in knowing it was a young adult book, but it literally had me doubting that it was YA. As I was reading all of the steamy scenes, it had me questioning, is this a YA book? Because I feel like this is definitely too hot to be put in the genre of YA. Now, if you want a book that has gang ties and dangerous bad boys, then definitely check this out. The next book on my list is Fallen Too Far by Miss Abby Glines. This book is about a girl named Blair who, after witnessing her mother pass away, she ends up having to move in with her father. It's here where she meets her new stepbrother, Rush, who is such a bad boy, and they instantly dislike each other. Now, after finding out that her father is on vacation with his new wife, she has to live one-on-one with Rush for a few months, waiting for her father and her stepmother to arrive. So we slowly get to watch as the relationship between Rush and Blair goes from hate at first sight to something more than hate. They end up starting to actually like one another. So they go from being enemies to kind of friends to lovers. And let me just say that the scenes that they share is so smutty and so hot. I could not believe some of the things that I read with this book. Now, I do want to say that this book is so twisted, and it's definitely a forbidden attraction because they are step siblings and they know that they shouldn't be feeling the way that they do, but over time, they just can't deny the feelings that they have for each other, and they end up having a relationship that they have to try to hide from the father and the stepmother. So if you want to read a forbidden romance, a twisted read that has such a crazy cliffhanger, then check this out. This is a series, so after you read the first book, you need to instantly check out the second one, because I promise you, after reading the cliffhanger, you're going to want to read the next book in the series. So that was all of my recommendations for the smuttiest and naughtiest reads. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and you also now enjoy your quarantine as you get to read all these spicy reads. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any recommendations for any other smutty books, then definitely be sure to put them down below because I love hearing what you guys like to read. As always, I hope you have a great day, and yeah, I'll see you soon.